Hey friends, welcome back to Pastors' Wives Tell All. Today we're thrilled to have our very own counselor, Larinda Horton, joining us. She grew up as a pastor's kid, married a pastor, and now serves as a faith-forward, licensed professional counselor. Larinda has a huge heart for Jesus, ministry, and helping people find freedom in both. In this episode, we dive into the unique challenges pastors' wives face: loneliness, boundaries, marriage, friendships, and the importance of counseling and self-care. Larinda shares so much wisdom, and she even counsels each of us a little at the end. Yeah, live on the podcast. You're going to love this one, so let's dive in.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Stephanie.
And you are listening to Pastors' Wives Tell All,
A podcast by pastors' wives for church leaders and anyone desiring to take a peek inside our glass house.
We are breaking down walls and crushing pastors' wives stereotypes within the church.
We want pastors' wives and other ministry leaders to know that they are not alone in this. Plus, this is basically therapy for the three of us with a whole lot of dance parties.
Larinda, we are so excited to have you on the podcast today with us.
Thank you. It's so good to be with y'all.
Yes. For those of you who have not met Larinda yet, which is probably most of you, Larinda is a sweet, dear friend of ours, and she is actually our therapist. Well, she's my therapist, and I love her dearly. But Larinda, we're so excited about this conversation, first of all.
Yeah, me
but
too.
Yeah.
we want you to tell all of our listeners who you are, a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your family, what you do, all the things.
Yeah. Well, my name is Larinda Horton. Been married 28 years, mother of 4. So the oldest is about to be 24, and then I have a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, 3 girls and a boy.
Ooh.
I'm a licensed professional counselor. Love what I do. So grateful for the opportunity to serve the Lord in this capacity. I have a private practice here in our hometown. And
Across the street.
Literally
across the street
Yes,
from here.
literally across the street. And I see people in person, and then I also do telehealth work, but I also serve as a counselor on the Deborah Fileta Counselors Network. I'm not sure if your audience is familiar with Deborah, but
If not, they should be.
she has a pretty large following. She's also a licensed professional counselor and author and podcaster as well. And my husband and I have years in the ministry. We were youth pastors off and on in our earlier part of our marriage. So probably for close to around 11 to 12 years, we served in that capacity, and also as college pastors and helped run a college school of ministry. So we did that. And then to tack on, since we're talking to pastors' wives mainly, I was also a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
So I was birthed into the ministry. I kind of say that, so to speak. So I've been in ministry in some level of capacity my whole entire life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with ministry, so you have been a pastor's wife, and you have been a PK kid, of course, since birth. We love you, PK kids. So with that has shaped you so much. That's a whole nother podcast that you could be on and share a lot about that. But with that, during those years, how did that shape you? If there's any story that kind of, stands out, or things that you went through, how does it shape you in your journey? And also, now that you're a counselor, you have seen us and counseled pastors' wives, but have you counseled other people in ministry? And how does your past, how does that shape the way that you counsel people?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a loaded question.
She doesn't know how to do it any other way.
I don't know that I can do all of that in this one episode. So how has it shaped me? I think growing up in the ministry. So I'll unpack this of growing up and then being in the ministry, but growing up in the ministry shaping me. Jenna knows, and you both know this too, but I'm pretty straightforward, and I don't use a lot of fluff. So if I say things today that hit kind of hard, I'm not not trying to hit anyone hard in the sense of like hurting you. I'm going to be really real.
Yeah.
Growing up in the ministry, there was blessings, and then there were moments that were very difficult. As a child, the expectations, some from the community more than my parents, but the expectations to be and look and act a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, that was probably more of the realm that was difficult. But then on the realm that was a blessing is seeing just my parents just pour into other people and love people at all levels. And just sharing the gospel and it just being who they were and that just their life and getting to experience things that I would have not experienced if I wouldn't in that realm. And then becoming a pastor's wife and then youth pastors and then leading, the college school of ministry, that was very different of an experience. Expectations were still there, but they looked very differently.
Yeah.
And so from that realm, that was hard. I think the hardest part being a pastor's wife that I encountered that was not hard as a pastor's kid, but as a pastor's wife was friendships. Those were really hard. I had people in my life before I became a youth pastor's wife that were all of a sudden not there. Or they didn't feel comfortable around me because they felt like they couldn't be their true self around me because that I would judge or hold them to a different standard, which wasn't true. I just wanted a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
But then the blessing of that was just seeing students and their lives transform, and seeing even families transform because of their student,
Right.
because of their child, So with anything, there's blessings and there's
For sure.
those,
Yeah.
things that are difficult. How it shaped me as a therapist is I deeply have a compassion and a passion to work with pastors' wives, and not just pastors themselves, but also people that are on staff at a church. Maybe they're not full-time staff. Maybe they're volunteering, or maybe they're part-time, or in any of those capacities, just because I've been in it. I've walked through some pretty traumatic things, and I've walked through some really great things, but to be able to carry that, it helps me, I think, relate to those individuals in particular. And so I've been really blessed by Deborah's platform, because I'm able to connect with pastors and their wives and staff and churches from all over the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that has been great, because especially, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners will resonate with this, as a pastor's wife, sometimes it's difficult to get the resources that you need within your own community.
Right. Yeah.
So to have that you can reach out to somebody that's, thousands of miles away.
It actually feels better if
Yeah.
they're thousands of miles away.
Because they're not in that everyday life with you.
Yes.
So they can really hold a lot more space and weight for you.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. So I don't know if I hope I answered that
You did.
well, but
That was good.
yeah.
Can we just go back to, if you were a friend of a pastor wife or a ministry leader, do not leave them. They are some of the
please
most
don't.
lonely people on our retreats and at conferences. That is one of the number one things that ladies talk about is loneliness. And it's just uncalled for, honestly. And if you have such a struggle being yourself, then you might need to just check yourself and go, why am I so okay with, don't want to be around the pastor wife, but I'm still okay doing that. You know what I mean? Like, check your heart, people, and then get back to friendship. It's worth it.
That's right.
She said, no, because I've been there, and we'll come back around to that because at the end of the episode, we're doing something a little fun where you get to counsel us right now and right here where we are. And so
That's fun.
yeah, aren't you excited to do
Put me in my
therapy
realm.
right here?
I am. That's exciting.
In the moment, guys, in the moment. Okay. You've already mentioned some of the struggles, obviously the loneliness, but I know there are other struggles.
Yeah.
So what, in your experience, as you've been counseling these pastors' wives that you've met across wherever, the U.S., I suppose, what are some of the most common struggles you see them experience? And why do you think that so many of us feel the need to hide those struggles and not share them and not bring them to the light, not get help? Because I can tell you I was one of those.
One of the biggest ones that I see, the lack of boundaries.
Preach.
She literally speaking to me right now because I'm struggling in that area right now. Go ahead.
Just the lack of boundaries, the overcompensating, the trying to be efficient at absolutely everything that you do, which really hinders you to be present. But to also to just allow yourself to be human.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's this expectation that not only maybe the community and culture and society can put on a pastor and their wife, because we all know that they're going to do that, and we can't control that.
Right.
Right.
But we can be in control of ourselves. Is what expectations am I putting on myself? One, and where are those coming from?
Right. Exactly.
Because that's usually when especially pastors' wives that I meet with, they carry such a load that is a load that no one could carry by themselves. And that is usually where I start. And I tell them, tell me about your life, your everyday life. What are you carrying? What are you not carrying? And they start telling me everything they're doing. And I'm looking at them across the camera and I'm like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
How are you doing that? One. And two, you're one person. Like you're carrying your husband, your family, a whole church, a friend group and community. And where are you in the midst of any of this? Well, how are you tending to yourself? Because that is a priority. Like we have to steward.
Right.
We have to steward ourselves. So it's really lack of boundaries, which leads to burnout, which can lead to isolation and loneliness. And as a therapist, and I'll speak to the part where you said, kind of like where it's difficult to go and maybe seek that help. As a therapist, as a Christian therapist, it's heartbreaking to know that there's so many out there. Here's one of the messages that I hear. Well, I just have to keep going. Well, that only works for so long.
Right. Yeah. So how do we, like from a counselor's perspective, how do we navigate those expectations that other people put on us all the time? And because sometimes they're unspoken, but sometimes they're actually spoken from other people. But so how do we navigate that?
Well, here's a very blunt answer. You can't navigate someone else's expectations.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Like you just can't.
Yeah.
They're not yours.
Right.
And a person has the right to think and feel what they want to feel. And if they place an expectation upon me, especially if it's unspoken and I don't know anything about it,
Right.
I can't meet it.
Yeah.
But even if another person puts an expectation upon me, that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to meet.
Yeah.
Like it may be an expectation they're putting on me because they want to feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
Or they want to feel something differently. So they place this expectation upon me with never consulting them. So really to steward or to navigate, maybe is a better word, expectations. I think you have to start with your own.
Yeah.
Because that's really the only thing that you can do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is to sit down. What are the expectations that I actually have placed upon myself? And where do those expectations come from?
Yeah.
How were those developed in my life? And sometimes they come from childhood. Sometimes they come from hurts and wounds and a person's trying to be self-protective of themselves.
Yeah.
So I think you have to do that. Now, navigating through the expectations of another person, if it's community-wise, I'm going to leave it where I left it with that answer. If it's the church staff, maybe you're on staff and, the people above you and their role have expectations. Clarify those expectations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Understanding brings wisdom.
Yeah.
So if you're not certain, then sit down and have that very courageous conversation. Say, I really need to understand what your expectations are of me.
Yeah.
Because I need to determine if I can meet them or not.
I think the hard thing is though, is if the person in leadership is unhealthy,
Yeah.
and so they have unhealthy expectations on
Right.
their staff members,
Mhm.
which is, you know, where I think we find a lot of people that we meet with, it's unhealthy all the way at the top. So,
Yeah.
Or they don't tell you what they are,
Right.
and they expect
and in
you to.
that regard, then
Yeah.
maybe you need to decide if that's where you need to be.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's where, I mean, you hate to say that, but that's honestly one of the, if you can't go share all the way at the top with the
Right.
people that are supposed to love you and pour into you,
Right.
that trickles down for you to be able to serve, then it's unhealthy. And those are red flags.
Well, you know, you said that, and I was listening this morning to one of my favorite speakers, Pastor Craig Rochelle, and he was talking about leadership from the realm of if you're leading without loving your people,
Yeah.
then you're not doing it biblically.
Right.
So if
Exactly.
they're not doing it biblically,
Yes.
then maybe you're not supposed to be there.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
I
good.
think that's the biggest thing.
And I think the problem is, though, many people listening are going, but we're here to fix it. Like, we came in here to fix what's broken.
Mm-hmm.
But is that you, or is that God asking you to do that? I think
Right.
that's one of the
Right.
bigger problems, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, were you invited to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause you
Yeah.
may,
That also.
you may not have been asked to come there to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
But you think you're going to be the hero.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of unhealthy things going on. Mhm.
For sure. Okay, so let's switch to marriage. But this one is a huge one and something that we have dealt with, but also our listeners deal with on a regular. So you can have a very healthy, loving marriage. And then, year 2 or 3 early on, you're jumping into something that you are still trying to navigate, or you're 20 years in and you've been doing ministry so long, like it's hard to make time for each other with the busy schedules and the stress and everything. So when you meet with those pastors' wives and the pastors and ministry leaders, what are some just tips and good like foundational truths that they need to remember and go back to so they can get their marriage back at a healthy place so they then can be on track together in ministry?
Well, meeting with pastors and as a married couple, and I have several. One of my responses is the demands of people will always be there, but your marriage won't. And so if you're not investing in your marriage, then what you're doing outside of the realm of your marriage is going to be less effective.
Yeah.
It just will.
Right.
You have to make a priority what's a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And other people, going back to other people's expectations, other people are always going to put their demands out there for you to meet.
Yeah.
As a pastor, there's always going to be things for you to do.
Yeah.
Like laundry. It's what I tell my clients. Like laundry. Right when you've got that basket all folded, here comes a kid throwing in a pair of socks. It's like they're always going to be there. So
Yeah.
I think you have to go back to prioritizing your union. Like you made a covenant before the Lord to love each other well, to serve one another, and to serve Him together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that serving Him together means that you get to stop serving one another.
Right.
Like, oh, well, there's just so many people that need us, and there's so many. Yeah, well, that's it's always going to be.
Yeah.
So I highly encourage my couples that are in ministry together. You have to have one day a week at least where you're connecting for 90 minutes of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You're connecting with each other. I give them 3 questions that they're supposed to connect with, and you're gonna have 90 minutes of as best as you can uninterrupted conversation. I know with children that can be difficult. You're going to prioritize time alone, and if your funding is short, it's okay.
Yeah.
Try to get those kids in bed. Try to get them in their own selected spaces so that 2 of you can talk and spend time together, and then continue to cultivate that conversation around one another. Go spend time together doing something fun.
Yes.
Because the demands of people will wear you down.
Yes.
Amen.
I mean, serving in the ministry is fun,
Yeah.
but then it can be very weighty,
Mm-hmm.
very, very weighty. So do something that makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Go do things that maybe you haven't done in a long time. I know one couple said, go bowling.
Yeah.
And they both laughed and they're like, we haven't been bowling since we were teenagers. And I said, I promise you, go do it. You'll have a good time.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's like, but you have to put in the work for your marriage, double fold of what you're putting in for
Yes.
the ministry.
Yeah, that's good.
Like,
Double fold.
double fold. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I
Which
think it's so
means
true.
maybe reining back some of what you're doing for the ministry. I'm taking in all of this because these are things like, up here, but then you don't always insert it here and then go out and do it. And honestly, I am struggling with boundaries and keeping those in check. I can tell everyone else. I can tell you what books to read for about boundaries. I can tell you, how to have good boundaries like for someone else. But when it comes to me as a pastor's wife or in ministry in general, and even in this ministry, all of it, I have the worst time with boundaries. And I think most people in the ministry do.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you could just give us some practical boundaries specifically for people in the ministry. Like, what are some that you think are key that we need to be holding to?
Yeah. Well, when you think about boundaries and you think about Jesus himself, one of the things that he did is he protected his calling.
Yeah.
And to do that means you have to say no. To arrive and to show up as, if we want to use this terminology, your best self, there are going to be probably more no's than there are yeses.
Yeah.
And so I would say with boundaries, you start with the thing that is the most priority to you, your relationship with the Lord. What does that look like? How are you investing in your time with the Lord? And the next would be your spouse. And how are you investing in your marriage? What does that look like? How much time do you spend talking with one another, spending time with one another, investing in one another? And then if you have children, your family time, what does that look like? And then the ministry's here. And what I hear is the ministry's here, and then God, spouse, and children. And it can't be that way.
Right.
And that would be with any career, any job, because your life is ministry.
Yeah.
Like
It should be an overflow of your relationship with Jesus every moment, every breath.
Yeah. And so I think with boundaries, you have to start with protecting your priorities, and those have to be in order.
Good.
And so to say no may be your best yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like what you said, we've talked about this, the three of us, a lot over the past year, but like, I definitely in ministry see this a lot, and just in marriage couples in general, they put the kids' needs before the marriage. And that's so backwards to what should be happening. Like,
Lots of people do
yeah.
that.
And that's ministry or not ministry. So I hope people hear that like, if the marriage is not good, like, and there's no communication.
Right.
I was talking to a pastor the other day, and I was like, how are you doing? Your kids are gone. Like, just sent his last kid off to college. And he's like, we're okay. And I said, that's so good to hear, because most people go, oh my gosh, I have a spouse that I haven't talked to or built a relationship with. And so now I'm in an awkward home. And that's where a lot of times divorce happens, and infidelity and all kinds of things happen, is when the kids leave, because you've forgotten that you
no
committed
connection.
to each other,
Right.
and there's no connection and communication. So I hope people hear that, because they think that, oh, if I don't spend time or do this with the kid, then I'm a bad mom or dad. No, like you will make time for the things important. There's
Right.
other things that you have to let go that you're not letting
You
go.
do.
Yeah.
You do. And you're totally right about that, because there's an enormous amount of clientele that I have that are dealing with that issue. I used to see more younger couples dealing with maybe conflict and issues, and yes, they have that, but now I'm seeing more older couples, couples that have been married 30 and 40 something years, that are looking at each other and they're like, I
don't even know
well,
you.
Yeah.
we don't get along. And then when I find out why they're not getting along, is because they lost connection years ago.
Right.
Years ago. And this is going to be hard to hear, but it's a reality. A lot of people idolize their children.
Oh, 100%. See it every single day.
Yeah. And that again is out of balance. So
Yes.
with boundaries, you've got to have balance and moderation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So good.
Good.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears again
Yeah.
real fast. So Jessica mentioned earlier how pastors' wives are lonely.
Yeah.
They have a hard time feeling like they can open up to people. So how do you encourage women in ministry to find those friendships and places where they can feel safe to open up and have somebody that they trust?
Well, I will say that finding friendships is a necessity. It shouldn't be something you feel like you have to necessarily earn. It's a necessity to you. You have to have it. And I have found with a lot of pastors' wives that maybe some of your friendships need to be people who are not in your own community.
Yeah.
They may need to be people that are definitely not in your own church, and maybe not even in your own city.
Yeah.
But just someone that you can connect with who is honest, who you can see that their life based off their fruit and their actions is one that you're like-minded with. That is a person who would love you enough to tell you when you're wrong, because that's very valuable and that's very key in a friendship. But that person that can hold your feelings and parts of your story for you and protect it. And that's very, very valuable, but it's also a necessity. But I have found that sometimes, not saying that pastors' wives can't have friends within their own church. I'm not saying that.
Right.
Because I think you can, and I think those are exceptionally valuable. But I have found a lot of safety with a lot of my pastors' wives is they have found people even outside of their own community.
Yeah, for sure. That's good. Hey, friends, we will get right back to our episode, but we want to take a moment and thank our patrons. You guys keep our podcast going.
If you are not a patron and you would like to consider donating to our podcast ministry, we would be so grateful. And we might even do a happy dance.
When you become a patron, you get perks like being the first to hear about special info and retreats. You get bonus episodes, monthly devotionals, lock screens, and more.
Plus, we have added a new $1 tier for those who believe in us and what we're doing, just because you love us.
So head on over to our show notes and click on the Patreon link to learn more. Now let's get back to our episode.
So, okay, of course, we're speaking to you as a counselor today. Of course, we consider you our friend, even if we don't get to hang out because, we're all so busy. But as a counselor and what you do for a living, like one of the things that we hear the most, and I think all of us have talked about this, or our husbands over the past, 6 years of us being friends as a group, like, is that I don't need a counselor. Or if you need a counselor, you feel weak. Or if, especially for staff and, pastors, they go, well, if I'm going to counseling, then people are going to think something's wrong and then they're going to fire me, or they're going to think
stigma.
There's such a stigma. So like, we've got to break that. And I do believe that we are in the process. I believe that the church is talking more about counseling.
Yeah.
And I believe that pastors are talking more about it. But for those that are still not on that train of wisdom, like, talk to us about like those people that are thinking that, man, I'm going to be judged, or I feel weak. But when really, I think that it's so strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I say the strongest thing that you can do is ask for help. No one that asks for help is weak.
Yeah.
That takes strength and that takes courage. But the stigma part, I do think, is getting better. I think the church has really opened its eyes to the necessity of it.
Yeah.
I would just say be careful in regards to who you're meeting with as a counselor. If you are a faith-based person, then you want a faith-forward counselor.
Yeah.
Because they're going to use biblical principles and connect those with psychology. To me, is going to be your best formation of going into therapy. But the idea around somebody judging you, people judge you every day for everything. So, you just have to let them do that and not feel responsible for their judgments, and care more about stewarding your care.
Yes.
Because that's what you are responsible for is stewarding yourself and tending to yourself. You're responsible to yourself. That's important. But I think you guys maybe had an episode once about this, about the importance of pastors knowing when to send someone to counseling.
Yeah.
Because that I really enjoyed that episode because my father being a pastor for so many years, although he's retired, he was also a therapist. And so he knew even himself when that realm, when they were entering into like, okay, even it was beyond his scope of practice. And then he sent it out because as pastors, you got to be careful because you don't want to spiritually bypass your audience that's coming to you for help for, mental health and clinical needs. And so as a counselor, I mean, we want to be there in that space for you.
Yes.
We want to serve and help lead you, but we want to lead you as a Christian counselor. We want to lead you with the truth.
Yeah. One thing before we move on, also just to mention this, like there's a lot of times that, Jonathan and I do a lot of counseling to a certain extent. And I think for so long, we were so ready and knew that we needed to give couples up or a person up. But there were no good counselors that we knew of. Because I do believe that they are still like sheep and like to shepherd them and to send them to someone that could do more harm than good is very scary. And so like just out there, just like a PSA is like study and research and find good Christian counseling and even go to them to test them, like not to test them, but like use them for your own benefit before you send people, because that was one of the biggest things for years. I mean, we had so many people that we can continue to counsel and we go, well, crap, like this is beyond our control, or we see some other things mentally that are going on or things that we can't deal with.
Yeah.
But we've felt like there is no one in this area that I would send anybody to, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of times pastors and pastors' wives and ministry leaders will counsel way past their time.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if you've dealt with that but I mean, I know I've been sending half of my church to you. But,
And your partner. I've said, some are going to your partner now too.
Probably need to add to their group because there's a lot going on with them. But like, it is such a blessing to have y'all in this area, because we couldn't do this without y'all, so it's such a blessing. So I just, for those listening, don't counsel beyond what you can handle. And not every pastor should be counseling, even at all.
Maybe you should look into her group if you need a therapist that's far away because there's none in your town that you feel like are good.
Yeah. And because my, and what she mentioned, my partner, my coworker, in our private practice, we also provide consulting and coaching and spiritual directing so that we can go across those state lines.
Right. That's awesome.
Because clinical counseling, we have to keep within the states that we're licensed in, but we can provide consulting, coaching, and spiritual directing
I love that.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And that can be through telehealth. That would be a resource for your audience for sure.
Yeah,
They can
we'll
look
put that
into
in the show notes for everybody.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah. But, on that note, even as therapists, we have an ethical duty to tell our clients when we have a client in front of us that we are aware that it's out of our scope of practice. And I can think over my years of doing therapy, there have been a few where I've had to say, I would love to continue being your therapist, but we're at a point where it's beyond my scope of practice. And I will refer you to this person who has this specialty.
Yeah. That's good.
And so even as a therapist, we have to do that.
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
That's good. That's good. Okay. There's been so much good here. And before we have you counsel us live, if you could look into the eyes, wait, we're going to look at this camera. You're going to look at
that one.
Look at this camera right here. Okay. You're going to look into the people's eyes. And if there is one thing that you could say to them of encouragement, these pastors' wives who, we've been talking about this whole time, whether they're lonely or whatever, what is one piece of encouragement that you would want to give her right now?
Okay. I cannot promise to you that I won't cry. So I'm going to try to say this without crying.
It's okay.
You are valued. You are seen, loved, special. Your calling on you is important. And the best thing that you can do for you is protect it. Utilize boundaries in your life. Protect, steward your spirit and your soul. At the end of the day, that's what matters most to God. Not what you do, but who you are. And so take that time. Tend to that part of you. Everyone's going to have demands and needs and wants. They're going to be screaming at you. But just know you're more important than what you do. Because God cares about who you are. So steward that well. If you're married, steward your marriage. Got to make that a priority. There's nothing more important than your time with the Lord and your time with your spouse. Protect that. Protect that. Take care of you, because your voice, who you are as a person.
So good.
Sure, girl. That was good.
I told you I was going to start crying.
She was
It's okay.
speaking to us too. So
I get emotional.
Yep.
That's all right.
Well, we thought this would be kind of fun. Just to kind of
Fun.
fun. So the three of us have three different questions. This could be something that we have dealt with in the past that we would just wonder, man, if we would have got counseling, how would have you told us to handle it? We could potentially be going through it right now, or it could be something that's just ongoing that we've been dealing with, for a while. So let's get counseling.
Let's get going.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'll go first. Okay, so the word narcissist has been thrown around a lot over the past 2 years, especially. I feel like it's like the hot topic word.
buzzword.
Yes, it's a buzzword. And I do believe that there are times when, really there's just people in our life that have narcissistic tendencies. And to be honest, I think we all in a moment in our life when we are weak can allow that pride to step in if no one is holding us accountable, and we can all have these tendencies.
Yeah.
So with that, in ministry throughout our lives, I think all of us probably have, but people within the church, people on staff or friendships, we have had people that have had narcissistic tendencies or really struggle with narcissism. And so I'd kind of just ask, how do we deal with those people? But before we kind of delve into that, what is the difference between a difficult person and a toxic person?
Yeah. A difficult person, and that's a really great question. A difficult person is going to be someone that you may encounter having some good times with, and then some times where it's more difficult. And the difficult person is going to be able to manufacture a conversation with you.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to take some ownership of their own parts and their own wrongs, and to ask for and also extend forgiveness. A toxic person does not display any of those abilities. They're very manipulative, very controlling. They're not capable of taking ownership. And I say that they're not capable. Everyone's capable. But the way that a narcissistic brain is wired, they don't even see that side. It's like they're completely blind to that side. So in relationships with difficult people, there is the ability to make some wrongs right.
Yeah.
With a toxic person, it's not.
Okay.
And that's the person that you're going to have to limit access with or completely walk away from.
Okay. So how do we deal with that in ministry, within our church, and with our friendships? Like if we have people like that, how do we maintain healthy relationships, healthy staff, all of the above when there's someone in our lives like that?
Yeah. The difficult people, I would say, give opportunity for conversation. If you can, foster that environment for a healthy conversation. You may want to try that privately. And if you're not comfortable with that, having someone that's trustworthy that could be in that space with you to hold you both accountable in that conversation. A toxic person, I'm just going to be very blunt about that one. They don't have the ability to reason with you. And so if they are displaying the narcissistic tendencies, or maybe they are, let's say, a narcissist, they're exceptionally controlling, the conversation is not going to be a conversation. It's going to be one-sided. You will be blamed. You will be the problem. And so there's no reciprocity in that. And those are situations where you have to remove yourself. You have to steward yourself in the way of protecting yourself. And so you just have to remove yourself from that.
I think that a lot of women need to hear that. I think the only last question I would say really quick is, what would be a tool if it is a pastor? Would it just be, you need to leave? Like, you need to leave staff, you need to leave the church, because there are so many pastors that are portraying a lot of these tendencies.
I'm going to cautiously answer that one, just because I want to respect everyone's situation and what they're going through. Because just to get up and leave, I know is hard.
Correct.
But if it's your pastor and that is head of the leadership, that trickles down. So just be aware that a leader who leads with love is doing it biblically, and one that is not doing it. So you may have to leave. If they cannot have a conversation with you with reciprocity and taking ownership and understanding, then I think that's your sign.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I want to preface this question with saying this is not something that's happening or has ever happened in the church that I'm at right now.
Gotcha.
Okay. So what would you say to a younger me when going to, we'll say, this prayer weekend? It was a weekend meant for women to get together. We're going to pray. We go off, we retreat together, all the things. And I maybe find out later that one of those nights turned into a big gossip session with people that were friends or whatever, and I was not there, and it was all centered around me. I have, a person that comes to me and talks to me and just mentions like, hey, just so you know, but I had your back. And then my husband and I go to someone else because we were like, well, we're going straight to one of the person I thought I was closest to, other than that one who came to me, to go and say, hey, did I do something? Like, do we need to talk? Because this is what was approached to me. And then that person kind of backs up and points the finger at maybe the other person that came to me. And then I realized the entire night we're supposed to be unified. It was, let's talk about this girl. So what would you have said to younger me who didn't know how to handle that, had already gone to them, was feeling just being pushed to the outside, feeling like doing something wrong, but no one will tell me what I've done wrong?
Yeah.
What would you say to my younger self?
I would say I'm sorry. That's really hurtful. I think if you handled it in that way, if you went to the person and you tried to have a conversation around it and they kept shifting it to other people, they were showing you who they were, and they were showing you that they were not worthy of being in your circle any longer. But it's very hurtful because you were there at a weekend to enjoy, you thought, friendships, but really to be alone with the Lord and to just be in an intimate setting with Him. And then there were people who chose to do some things that were not of God and very hurtful. And it's a reminder to us all that none of us are perfect and people can hurt us.
Yeah.
But to the younger you, I'm sorry. That hurts. That's very hurtful. And you're validated in the fact that that was not okay, and it's not okay to feel okay about that. But it sounds like you handled it well. Sounds like they didn't respond appropriately.
Good job, Steph.
Oh, I was like, what else should I have done?
You did the very thing that the Bible says to do. When
Yeah.
there's a fault against a brother, you go to them privately. And then if it doesn't get better from there, you take somebody with you. And you took your husband and you did the right thing. And unfortunately, they weren't honest. Because an honest person would have said, yes, I did talk about you, and I'm in the wrong, and I'm sorry.
Man.
Thanks.
Oh, there's a group hug for those of you who are watching on YouTube. There's a group hug
There's
happening.
a Santa group hug happening.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you almost made me cry
I'm
over there with your
almost
tears.
crying.
I'm a sympathetic crier. Let's try not to cry.
Me too. I couldn't even talk to the pastor's wife.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Day for crying.
Contorting my
Come on,
face.
Jenna Poo Poo. What you got?
I'm like still processing what I want to ask, but I'm just going to see what comes out.
Yeah, I like it.
So, what would you say to the woman who feels like, or who so desperately wants her home to be a home and a place of peace, but feels like they are drowning in parenting? They're trying to work really, really hard to be unified as a married couple, and that's going great so far, but the parenting realm is killing her because she can't control the children.
The children.
What
But
would
are
you
we
say
trying to control the children?
to her? What would you say to that girl?
What would I say to her? Children are blessings and they're difficult. And maybe your expectation of you is too high. Maybe you're trying to control everything in regards to your children, and maybe we should start smaller on working through some smaller things and just having some expectations around the developmental stages of children and what they bring at different developmental stages. There's not a moment, I don't believe, and if you have this household, then please connect with me. But I don't believe that there is a moment in your home where you arrive and everything is just flowing perfectly and it continues that way. So I would say that maybe the expectations might need to be shifted, because if the expectations are too high, you're never going to feel like you can attain them. And so the racing wheel of trying to have it look a certain way is maybe more of what you're chasing than just dealing with the reality of what's right in front of you. And that can get very distorted. Does a woman want her home to be peaceful? Of course. Of course we do. Here's something I'll share real quickly that I feel like the Holy Spirit laid on my heart last night as I was talking to my 17-year-old son who was just sharing with me some of his spiritual highs and lows. And we were talking through that. And I know it's from the Holy Spirit because I didn't think this one up. Like it just like came and I was like, oh, I need to go write that one down myself. But he was sharing with me being at one place spiritually and where he finds himself now and how he misses being over here at this place that felt so close and connected to God, and everything's flowing well. Everything was smooth. We want to say peaceful, peaceful. And his response to me now is, I still love God just the same, but it feels differently. And I asked him the question, what do you want it to look like? Like if you had to answer, what would you want it to look like? And he couldn't answer me, and I didn't want him to answer me. That is your time of reflection. Go sit with that question.
Yeah.
But then I said to him, here's the thing. God, in that moment where everything was peaceful and flowing and it was great, he was there. He is in this moment where things feel difficult, maybe disjointed, maybe not as smooth and as peaceful. That ground, this ground, is just as holy as the ground where everything was smooth and peaceful. So one thing that we can think about is our home is a place of rest and respite. But that doesn't mean that if kids are running around and they're yelling and there's things going on, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing anything wrong. Some of it is they're being kids. But then some of it may be too that your expectation of it to look a certain way is what's keeping you from really embracing what's in front of you. So remembering that God is just as holy in its holy ground in the moments where everyone's sitting at the table and eating and they're quiet, and he's in its holy ground at the moment where they're throwing a fork and they're screaming at each other. Like it's still
good.
holy.
I like that. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a beautiful.
So good.
That's so good.
So we're going to need everyone to Venmo or PayPal Larinda for her time counseling all of us.
Well, Larinda, thank you so much for being on with
you
us
for
today.
having
This
me.
was such a great time. So many like chunks of wisdom, and we just know that this will bless a lot of people.
Yeah,
So thank you guys. And until next time.
Bye.
Okay, friends, if you have enjoyed this episode as much as we have, please help us spread the word on Facebook and Instagram.
If you didn't know yet, Instagram is where all the fun is at. From dance reels on Wednesdays to spiritual encouragement and laugh out loud posts in between, there is something for everyone.
And last but certainly not least, if you could take a moment right now to stop what you're doing and give us a rating and review, even subscribe to our podcast, this seriously helps other people find us who wouldn't be able to otherwise. Thank you so much for your love and support. We hope you'll tune in next week.